Welcome to the Essentials of Inorganic Chemistry. I am your friend Dr. V.D. Bhatt and presently discussing safety and hygiene in chemical industry. This is the third talk in the series and this is the second part of the safety terminology in MSDS, that is Material Safety Data Sheet. This MSDS or the Material Safety Data Sheet is the sheet to be provided by the manufacturer or supplier of a chemical. In this sheet, several details regarding the chemical has to be provided. In the previous lecture, I have already explained you that which are the details related to the identification of the chemical required in the MSDS. Today we will discuss the physical and chemical data of the chemical. So here we are going to discuss about 15 different properties of a chemical which is to be supplied. The first one is a combination of three properties: the appearance, state and odor. Odor is also known as smell. So here the color of the chemical, then the state, that is whether it is a solid, liquid or gas, has to be indicated, and smell of the material is also to be indicated. Now there is a term called odor threshold. So odor threshold is the minimum level in ppm, that is parts per million, when the smell or the odor will be experienced. It is the concentration in ppm, the minimum concentration in ppm above which the material will start smelling. So now higher the odor threshold means that if the material is toxic, then the toxic effects of that material will start even before the odor is experienced, and hence in such cases highly sensitive gas detectors are required to handle these kind of materials. Sometimes compounds with strong smell like methane thiol, also known as mercaptan, is added with the materials like LPG that we use in the house. This methane thiol is added to the LPG because it is having very strong smell, and therefore if the LPG leaks, then some methane thiol will also leak with it, and a pungent odor will come and the leakage will be easily detected. So this is the compound known as methane thiol or mercaptan. This is added in your LPG. Otherwise LPG does not smell. The next property that we discuss is the specific gravity. The specific gravity is defined as the ratio of the density of the material to the density of the water, that is density of the material upon density of the water. Now we know the density of water is 1 gram per ml. Hence the specific gravity for water will become 1. See, density of the material upon density of the water. Now we know that density of material, if we are talking about water, then density of material is equal to 1, and also we know that the density of water is also 1, and therefore in case of water the specific gravity, which is expressed in gram per centimeter cube, is also 1. Now the materials with specific gravity less than 1 will float over water, whereas the materials with specific gravity above 1 will sink into the water, and this information is particularly useful when an accident takes place. The third property we are discussing is vapor density. Vapor density is defined as the weight of vapor of a material per unit volume, maybe like centimeter cube. If you take vapor of a material in 1 centimeter cube, then its weight is called vapor density. In case of air, air is a mixture of several compounds. Therefore, you cannot get the exact value of vapor density for air. But an average value or an accepted value of water is 1.29. So, it is around 1.29. But for easy comparison and mathematical simplicity, the vapor density of air is taken as 1. So, the vapor of the material with vapor density more than 1, that is with higher density, higher density will tend to settle at the bottom as compared to the air. We are talking about the entire gaseous space. If you have different gases in the air, then the gas with higher vapor density will be at the bottom, whereas the gas with the lower vapor density will move up in the air. So the knowledge of vapor density of the materials allows us to decide where to put this ventilation, because generally we know that ventilations are kept at higher places, at upper height. But sometimes if you are storing a gas which is having high vapor density, then in case of leakage, the gas will be at the floor. So in that case, you need to have the ventilation at the lower heights. And also, the knowledge of vapor density helps in deciding the proper position of emergency exits. Next we discuss boiling point. We know that it is the temperature at which a liquid chemical starts becoming gas. This is not a scientific and classical definition of boiling point, but as far as the MSDS is concerned or general observations are concerned, we can understand the boiling point as a temperature when the liquid starts converting into gas. Now this property provides information about the temperature at which the material should be stored. You cannot try to store a material at a temperature which is very near to the boiling point. Now, as you increase the temperature of the material, the vapor pressure, or rather the vapor, will increase inside the container. Assume that you have stored a liquid material in a container, and then if the temperature in the container rises, then the vapor inside the container will increase, and hence if the vapor increases to a vapor and then in turn the vapor pressure increases in turn to a great extent, then it will pose the risk of explosion and fire. Therefore, the knowledge of boiling point helps us in deciding the temperature below which the material should be stored. Then comes thermal decomposition products. Now friends, the material may be some chemical, may be a high molecular weight chemical, and if it is thermally unstable, means if it breaks into smaller molecules upon heating, then it can create a different type of risk. So here we will understand the importance of thermal decomposition products. If the material decomposes or breaks down without boiling, then the temperature at which it decomposes is specified with the word, a short word, DEC, which stands for decomposition. So that is the material decomposition temperature. Some decomposition products that are formed may be hazardous, and These products are many times different from the combustion products. I will explain you the meaning of the term combustion products, but in general it means the products that are obtained upon burning the material. These are called combustion products. So thermal decomposition products and combustion products may not be same all the time. That is why a separate place is given to the material decomposition product in the MSDS. So data related to the thermal decomposition is also useful in designing a ventilation system. Next, the sixth property is the hazardous decomposition products. Now a material may decompose into several products. Some of them may be innocuous, means hazardless, but some of them may be hazardous. So that we need to specify. So certain unstable and reactive materials decompose without heating, and the information regarding the hazardous products formed upon such decomposition enables proper storage and handling procedures. Let us take the example of a gas called phosgene, COCl2. Now this phosgene decomposes into two gases, and one of them is toxic and the other one is highly corrosive as well as toxic. So HCl is highly corrosive and carbon monoxide is highly toxic. So when phosgene comes in contact with either heat or moisture, it decomposes into HCl and carbon monoxide. The seventh specification that we have to provide is the hazardous combustion products. The chemicals formed upon burning a material are known as combustion products. This I have already discussed previously. Now, these combustion products may contain toxic compounds. It may also contain some smoke and carbon particles. And we already know that the combustion products may be different from the products that are obtained upon thermal decomposition. The information regarding the hazardous combustion products guides the use of the type of fire extinguisher to be used in case of a fire. The eighth property that needs to be specified is the melting point. If you are supplying a solid material, then melting point is the temperature at which a solid material melts and starts becoming liquid. Now materials with low melting point should be stored in special containers, because what happens if during the transportation or during the handling or during packaging, if slight temperature is increased and the material is having low melting point, then it may start melting, and because of this melting the shape of the container may get distorted. That is why special containers are required if you are handling or if you are transporting the solid materials with low melting point. The ninth property is freezing point. This is the temperature at which liquid material starts becoming solid upon cooling. So this property enables appropriate storage and handling, because if you are transporting a liquid material and the temperature is reduced, if you are transporting it in a cold area and the temperature gets reduced, the material starts freezing, and there is a chance that the container can get burst, and therefore the freezing point is an important property which needs to be provided. Next comes vapor pressure. Vapor pressure is the pressure exerted by vapor of the material on atmosphere at a particular temperature. Now we all know that the atmosphere exerts a pressure on everything, including even us. That is why we are unable to jump in the air, right? Of course, the gravity is a reason, but vapor also, the atmosphere also exerts a pressure known as atmospheric pressure. But every material also exerts a reverse pressure to the atmosphere, and that is called vapor pressure. So vapor pressure is a function of temperature. If the temperature increases, the vapor concentration increases, and therefore the vapor pressure also increases. Now materials with high vapor pressure means greater concentration of material in vapor phase. They pose a greater hazard due to fire, or if the material is toxic, then because of inhalation, that is smelling. The 11th property that we are going to discuss is the solubility. The solubility of a material in MSDS is expressed qualitatively, means not exact value is not given, it is only classified. It is classified as insoluble or very soluble, sparingly soluble, or if it is a liquid, we may say miscible, which is it mixes with water. The solubility is useful to decide a scrubbing media, spill control, and fire extinguisher. Now what happens? Scrubbing media is the media which is used for, in a way, preventing the toxic materials to go into the atmosphere. So in a way it is a washing to be provided. And spill control, spill means if you have a glass of water and the glass turns down, then the water spills. The water is spread on the floor, that is called spilling. So if the spilling takes place, then you have to control it. For that also solubility needs to be known. And using the solubility, we also understand the type of fire extinguisher which is to be used. Now I will give you some more details on scrubbing media. Scrubbing media means, scrubbing media is the plural of medium. So we use different type of liquids for scrubbing. So scrubbing media are the liquid materials that can dissolve or react with the hazardous material so as to reduce its hazardous exposure. So solutions of caustic, solution of lime and water, etc. are used for this purpose. Sometimes instead of scrubbing, the adsorbents like sand, sponge or rubber are also used for the purpose of scrubbing. Now friends, adsorption, ADSORPTION, adsorption is a physical process in which some toxic small molecules, they get stick, or they get stuck on some solid surfaces. So this phenomenon is also used for scrubbing of certain toxic gases, and for that purpose sand, sponge or rubber are used. The 13th property that we are going to discuss is the pH. Now pH indicates the acidity of an aqueous solution made in water, and the range of pH is 0 to 14. Now here also the MSDS does not require to specify the exact pH of a solution, because the solution may have different concentrations. So if you are supplying a solution of particular concentration, and if the pH is between 0 to 2, then you have to say strong acidic. If it is between 3 and 5, you will say weak acidic. If it is between 6 and 8, it is neutral. 9 to 11, it is weak basic, and 12 to 14, it is strongly basic. So based on pH, the selection of the neutralizing material for scrubbing or effluent treatment or spill control is done. An acid can be neutralized with a base and vice versa. Next comes an important property, flash point. Now this flash point is a temperature. It is the lowest temperature at which a material gives enough vapor near its surface. The material may have low or high boiling point, but even below the boiling point, all the liquids, they tend to vaporize. If you have a glass of water and you keep it for some days, then the glass of water will become empty, or the amount of water will be reduced. Even if you don't increase the temperature to 100, the boiling point of water is 100, but if you keep that glass of water open for several days, then you know that the volume of water will be reduced. It is because of the evaporation or the formation of vapor. So in the same way, the flash point is expressed as the lowest temperature at which a material gives enough vapor near its surface to form flammable mixture of air and vapor, so that if at all some spark occurs, then it will catch a fire. So lower flash point means flash point of lower temperature means that there is a higher hazard, as it can cause a fire even at a lower temperature. Now this flash point is expressed in two ways. These are the two different types of experiments: closed cup, that is CC, or open cup, that is OC. So sometimes the CC values are provided, sometimes the OC values are provided, and in general you will find that the CC value is slightly lower than the OC value. Next comes the auto ignition temperature. This auto ignition temperature is the lowest temperature at which a material starts burning in air even without contact of a spark. If you simply heat a material, or if the temperature of the material increases and it is in open air, then sometimes the material may start burning. That temperature is called auto ignition temperature. Sometimes you will see that the decomposition products of a material may auto ignite. The material itself may not have a very low auto ignition temperature, but the products formed because of the decomposition of the material may have low auto ignition temperature, and they may start catching a fire even at a low temperature. Now exact value of this temperature is not available for many compounds, because under different conditions this auto ignition temperature may have different values. So what we do is, we have a rough value of auto ignition temperature of the material, and what we have to do is, we have to store or handle our material at a significantly lower temperature than the auto ignition temperature which is known to us, and this will help us in avoiding the risk of fire explosion. So that was something about the physical and chemical data of the material to be provided in the material safety data sheet, and this was the second talk. In the next talk we will continue discussion on the same, and we will take up the next parameter to be discussed in the or to be included in the material safety data sheet. So thank you and goodbye till then.